Greetings. Today is Sunday, August 10th, 2014. First of all, I'd like to send my condolences to the family and friends of our young brother, Michael Brown. May the mental and emotional scars left by such a tragic occurrence heal very soon. For those who are unaware, on the afternoon of Saturday, August 9th, 2014, Michael Brown, an 18-year-old graduate on his way to college in a couple of days, was mortally wounded by a police officer in Ferguson, Missouri, which is a suburb of St. Louis, Missouri. I must commend the organizers and attendants for a well-attended and peaceful demonstration. Now, how do we significantly impact police violence in this country? First, let me say that demonstrations like the one today, as well as war protests and the like, are great illustrations of solidarity. It's wonderful to see hundreds or even thousands of people come out and show that they are concerned about the tragedy that took place. But, brothers and sisters, such demonstrations do little to nothing to stop the event being protested. At the same time people march and protest the various wars, soldiers are being shipped overseas. Again, such demonstrations are great for showing oneness of mind and heart, but do very little, if anything at all, to stop police violence, wars, and so forth. So, what must take place legally to help neutralize, transform, and disintegrate police violence? First of all, though it may present a great challenge, an indictment would have to be handed down to the officer responsible for the loss of young Michael Brown's life. An indictment is simply a formal charge of the crime. In order to get an indictment, the family of young Michael Brown would need a top-notch prosecutor. Whenever a young black male loses his life via a police officer, it is always a highly sensitive matter. Therefore, I surmise a rather handsome retainer would be needed for the lawyer. A retainer is essentially a down payment for a lawyer, if you will. A retainer for a highly sensitive case like this would likely run into the 5 figures. But those matters can be worked out with the lawyer. The bottom line is that a significant amount of money to retain a lawyer will likely be necessary. Just to put matters in perspective a bit, if just 500 people gave $30 each, that would be $15,000 for young Michael Brown's justice campaign. Now, if an indictment is handed down, the community of Ferguson must get a conviction. We can see how in the Rodney King trial many years ago, how there was an indictment of the police officers, but there was no conviction. And that indictment did not prove to have a significant impact. Brothers and sisters, if the police officer responsible for the loss of young Michael Brown's life is convicted of second-degree murder or manslaughter, it will send a shock wave throughout this country. Brothers and sisters, there will be an improvement in police violence across this nation. Now, let's say the police officer who extinguished the life of young Michael Brown is not convicted or even indicted. Folks, the battle is still not over. Brothers and sisters, the people of Ferguson and surrounding communities must organize to boycott. The businesses of Ferguson pay local and state sales tax. These taxes are paid to the cities or municipalities and states the businesses are located in. When the city reviews its quarterly financial report, it does not want to see massive declines in revenue. The city of Ferguson cannot afford for Aldi's, Schnucks, Walmart, and other major income-producing businesses to take major financial hits or even go out of business. Such an economic wound on the city would affect its public services, including the fire department, schools, roads, and yes, its police force. If this occurs because the people of Ferguson peacefully boycotted these businesses, the mayor and city council are going to immediately contact the police chief. He, in turn, would immediately schedule diversity training for his officers and cadets. Another such boycott would be disastrous for the city, if the first one isn't. And the mayor can ill afford such an economic disaster. Therefore, the community of Ferguson will see improvement in police violence. Again, this will cause a shockwave that will wake up intelligence in police forces across the country as well. Now, the other question is, how do we create a shockwave of intelligence for our young black men and women? We'll address this at another time. Before we close, we'd like to again express our condolence to the family and friends of young Michael Brown.